Hi, this is Steve Hargadon, and on behalf of Lucy Gray, my co-chair, we'd like to welcome you to Sasha Martin's Keynote for the Global Education Conference. We're delighted to have you here. Sasha, welcome and thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Special thanks to our sponsors, partners in the International Advisory Board. Iron USA as our founding partner. Thanks to BrainPop, Flat Classroom, Little Lives, Blackboard Collaborate, and TechSmith. Now we're going to give those of you who are in live attendance the opportunity to let us know where you're participating from. You can do so by clicking on the star icon to the left of the map, and then click on the map. It's also fun to put your location, maybe the time and temperature, in the chat. Sasha, if you would turn your mic off just for a second, I think they're getting an echo because both of our mics are on.
Turn it off.
So wherever you're listening from, or if you're listening to the recording, we're sure glad that you have joined us. I'm now going to turn the time over to Sasha. Sasha, thank you so much. And here you go.
Thanks, Steve. Welcome to everybody. I'm so glad that you made it today. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the background behind our Global Table Adventure, what got me started, where we've had trouble and success along the way, and then what it means for you. So first up, we're going to talk about what got me off the couch. I used to think the world was a good place. Somewhere along the way, I lost that vision. But now I've reclaimed it, and I'm here to share my journey with you, my journey of how I became hungry for peace. In my early 20s, a time not so very long ago, I discarded the wide-eyed innocence of childhood and put on the thick cloak of cynicism. I smirked inwardly if someone so much as hinted at thinking they could bring about world peace. Good luck with that, I thought. The contestants for Miss America, so stereotypically bent on this cause, brought about the most chuckles. It all seemed so naive, so impossible. World peace. Didn't they know everyone was hell-bent on hating each other? Didn't they know there were wars out there that even the best minds in world government didn't know how to resolve? That's what the news outlets had me believe. Never a story of unison across borders. Instead, an endless litany of bombs, heartache, and us versus them rhetoric. Who was I to make a difference, I thought. I am just one person. Wishing for world peace certainly didn't seem to be helping anyone anywhere. Talking about world peace didn't seem to be helping anyone either. In fact, my experience traveling to 12 countries before the age of 19 didn't seem to impress anyone enough to change their opinions. People asked me questions like, "Weren't you worried about your safety?" And, "Oh, I hear the French are so rude," when I told them about the 3 years I studied in France as a teenager. My positive experiences didn't change anyone's mind. They had not experienced it for themselves, so it just wasn't happening for them. After a time, I realized I wasn't getting anywhere. It was easier to carry about my own business, and so I did for the better part of my 20s. Then, shortly after I got married and gave birth to my daughter Ava, everything changed. My life was no longer my own. I was no longer just one person. Not really. I had a husband and daughter, two torches of love and light I could never imagine being without. Suddenly it mattered if there was peace in the world. I could no longer put my head in the sand. It mattered if my daughter was going to grow up seeing hate, or if she was going to see love. If she was going to act on hate, or if she was going to act on love. If she was going to see the children of the world as her neighbors instead of as her enemy. If she was going to love the world. It mattered, all of it. With my newfound concern for doing my part, the cloak of cynicism became restrictive, depressing, worthless. I was a mother now, a mother on a mission. Don't get me wrong, the task of creating world peace still loomed as a gargantuan feat, but I grew to believe in the worth of working towards this mighty goal. Like those who spent their lives building Notre Dame, a French cathedral which took centuries to build, never to see the last stone set, I realized the future was not simply about what I could see right in front of my nose, but that which only true vision could project into the distant future, for the enjoyment of generations to come. Those Miss America contestants seemed to have the right idea after all. Who knew? but how to put it into action. I was just a mom living in Middle America. I couldn't afford to fly the world, and people wouldn't listen to me if I did. I was not a celebrity. I was not a world leader. I had to think in terms of what I knew, where I could affect change, where my small voice could become loud and clear. And then it hit me. The dinner table. As the daughter of a mother who loves to cook, who shared scraps of dough with me whenever she made a pie so I could make my own creations, I certainly knew all about the dinner table. I spent most of my life learning about food, writing 100 pages about the history of artisan bread in France, leading a medieval cooking tutorial which culminated in an authentic 12th century feast, complete with trenchers, which are bread plates, and finally slicing and dicing my way through the Culinary Institute of America for a year. Yes, I knew the dinner table pretty well. How great would it be, I thought, if the entire world could sit down at a global table and enjoy a meal together in peace and harmony. No arguments, no food fights, all smiles. A romantic notion, perhaps, but beautiful nonetheless. Then, with a sinking heart, I thought about my own family. And this is us just about a month before we started the adventure. At the time, my husband refused to try new foods, let alone entire meals from other cultures. Thanks to his upbringing in remote rural Oklahoma, he didn't know what an eggplant was, had never had fresh spinach, and thought mushrooms were of the devil. He was quite the challenge for a foodie like myself. My daughter was new to the world of food, and I feared she would take on my husband's habits. And that picture, he actually added those lasers in Photoshop. It's pretty funny. Anyway, even I was in a bad place, struggling to get out of a cooking rut that left me eating out way too much because I didn't know what to make for dinner anymore. Our own dinner table was fraught with restrictions based on fear of the unknown and plain old lack of inspiration. How could I expect other people around the world to appreciate each other and new foods if we weren't taking the time to do it in our very own home? It became clear what I had to do. I had to make a difference in my own family. I had to bring about curiosity and appreciation for other cultures and their foods in my own home, at our dinner table. That's where I could make a real difference. A real difference. Only then could I learn what I needed to share this message of cultural appreciation with the rest of the world. So I developed a manifesto, built a website, and began a journey to cook one meal for every country in the world, to build a global table where everyone is invited, where only positive, uplifting stories are told, because no matter how many crappy stories are fed to us by the media, there's always a good story to be told. There's always beauty everywhere. So here is sort of my approach on how to create peace one person at a time. I believe we create peace when we learn about each other, when we understand one another. It's not simply enough to learn information about other cultures. We must process the information with empathy and sympathy. We must seek to understand each other. We must seek to celebrate our common humanity. For it is through fear and confusion that war begins, and until fear and confusion is conquered, peace can never reign. 2, I acknowledge I cannot create peace for other people. I must start with self. Creating world peace sounds like the talk of a dreamer until we realize we can only change the world by changing one person, ourselves. Opening our minds is the beginning of a bright future. By controlling our own attitudes and actions, we can have a positive impact on the world. Good actions are contagious, and a ripple effect begins. So now I'm going to give you a quick overview of the project. Let's see how it all works. So here goes. I believe the best way to bring the cultures of the world together is to celebrate every culture equally. With this in mind, Global Table Adventure was born in February of 2010. Global Table Adventure is, like I said, my family's journey to eat one meal for every country in the world, A through Z. Country by country, week by week, meal by meal, we explore and learn tidbits about the tiniest and largest countries alike. The countries you've never heard of, as well as those you learn about in first grade. This is a celebration of every country in the world, a place where I share the one thing that unites us and that drives our individuality, food. Each week, my family and I dive into a meal from another country, learning about the food, trying the recipes, and even sharing videos of my young daughter sampling the food. She'll actually have eaten a meal from every country in the world before her 5th birthday. It's the ultimate stovetop travel experience. This picture is called white coffee. It's from Egypt and actually all over that area. And all it is rose water with hot water and sugar cubes. And the sugar cubes are what, because they're a little bit brown, they colored the water. That was kind of a fun one, a nice Mother's Day theme. I'm determined that this website is a little pocket of peace, a place for positive stories and loads of recipes. You won't hear about war, famine, or devastation. There's enough places covering those issues. I'm lifting my voice to spread the good, the happy, and the downright silly. As we travel the world virtually, I share stories about our family along the way as well. My sweet husband, Mr. Picky, and my lovely little girl, Miss Ava. This soup is from Laos, and it's like a rice noodle soup, and it's very similar to pho from those of you who like Vietnamese food. And we just made that, actually. And speaking of food, I believe firmly that if an entire country eats a dish, how bad can it be? The least I can do is try it. Thank you, Lisa. I'm not on a quest to serve the weirdest foods around. I'm on a quest to serve food that busy moms make all around the world with toddlers hanging off their shirts. Even better, many recipes on Global Table Adventure are complete stovetop travel experiences, meaning not only are there pictures of the food and the preparation, but photos of the country of origin, or in cases where a dish is served across many borders, like, for example, hummus, photos of the country where we chose to feature it. So this is a picture of sticky rice and a Laotian person harvesting rice. So it's an example of one of those pictures. Now, on the website, there's a map. The adventure began, and you'll be able to see all the different countries that I've already cooked. There's quite a few already. I'm almost up to 100. The adventure began almost 2 years ago, and I have 2 more years left in the adventure. Right now, we're in the L's, and you can interact with it on the site. You can click each country and expand, and it'll send you to all the posts about that particular country. As I look back on where we've been so far, I realize that I inadvertently brought together all of my talents into one project, my interest in cooking, travel, writing, photography, and design. Even my husband's skills have been put to good use as he films and edits weekly videos of our daughter trying the food. He's also my beloved computer geek, making sure all the database and web information is up and running, which is not my strong suit. So what I learned from that is if you really want to make a difference in the world, you have to do what you love and embrace your talents as you do it, because they will get you where you need to go. There's echoing. Okay, I don't know how to fix that. Ecuadorian was delicious, Anna. We did try it, and it was really, really great. Okay, well, let me know if the echo continues. I'm not sure. Okay, thanks, Nancy. All right, so what's working on the project? A whole lot. In my own home, our minds have opened. My husband is not the only one who has learned to try new foods. My mind has been opened as well. I never thought I'd like anything with tahini until the day I made what I like to call my Kuwaiti PB&J, a dip made with tahini and date syrup, a mixture that indeed is very similar to peanut butter and jelly in flavor and appearance, except you dip flatbread into it instead of put it on sandwich bread. I'll never think of tahini the same way again. Additionally, I never thought I'd like beer in my dessert until I tried the dark chocolate Guinness cake with Bailey's buttercream from Ireland. Oh my goodness, I don't think I need to say anything else about that. That was amazing. What else was going well? On a global scale, things were even more interesting. The adventure had hardly begun when something magical happened. Global Table Adventure took on a life of its own. I learned people care. People from all over the world wrote to me to share beloved family recipes from their hometowns. For example, I learned how to make smoked turkey in a goosey sauce, a sauce made with ground up melon seeds. This is a dish I could never have dreamt existed prior to Global Table Adventure, and it was all thanks to a young college student from the Ivory Coast who found my website just a few weeks before we got to her homeland on our A through Z list. She took the time to email me, and the learning began. Then I received expert instruction on how to make an outrageously good tiramisu from an Italian woman who teaches Italian cooking classes here in the United States. She happened to read an article about the adventure and contacted me right away. Again, it was just a few weeks before we cooked Italy, at best. Oh, that's so neat that your husband makes this Nidalero. It's delicious. It's really delicious. Additionally, I've reached out to travelers and immigrants to foreign countries who are kind enough to share their passion about the cuisine in their new home. Thanks to them, I've learned how to make pickled limes from Cambodia, which We actually made on a week in Oklahoma summers that was 105 degrees, I want to say, and I put the limes out, and as you can see, the one that's half green and half tan, that was just from one day in that intensely hot sun. And by the second day, they were dried out as much as they needed to be covered with the salt water, and we had pickled limes in a very, very quick time. Oklahoma is perfect for that kind of production. We also tried Korea's beloved bibimbap, which is a dish of rice, egg, and assorted veggies, sometimes raw fish, different things, fried in a sizzling hot stone bowl. You heat the bowl up on your stove, and then you bring it to table, and you fry your food at the table. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, 195 plus or minus. Actually, we've added South Sudan since which I get to a little bit later, but yeah. And we tried so many other dishes. It's been great. The other thing that's been wonderful is that people are learning not just about other cultures, but about cultures within their own borders. Food varies from region to region, so naturally locals don't always agree on what food I should make for my menu to represent their entire country. For example, I had two people from Australia with differing opinions on whether or not kangaroo should be on the menu. As you can see, one person said it's very rare to find any Australians who eat kangaroo, and in most supermarkets it's next to the pet food and out of the way. Whereas somebody else said, I live in Australia and eat kangaroo regularly. It's one of the cheapest meats out here due to the culling of the kangaroos, and it's one of the leanest. So another time I made a dish called turli perimesh from Albania, and some Albanians said no way would they eat it, while still others said 95% of Albanians know and love the dish. These debates are fascinating to me and my readers. I try to encourage an attitude of learning and interest, to give everyone a voice. I think this has been a great benefit to the people of these countries, people who perhaps have had very little voice as an individual in a global community. Yes, and you're right, Joan, even in the U.S. I mean, I haven't gotten to the United States yet, but I think about that. What am I going to do in a country that's so big? Southern food compared to New England, compared to Alaska or Hawaii, it's all so very different. Yep. So let's see. The more I listen, the more I realize that this website isn't about me and my family's journey, not entirely. We were but a small part of the equation. The adventure is about all of us. The Global Table Adventure is our story, the world's story, as told through food, and that's a really, really good thing. I'll get to that in a little bit, maybe. And if I don't cover it, we'll talk about it more at the end. The challenges, there's definitely been challenges along the way, and I'd be remiss to avoid mentioning them. To start with, here at home, finding the time to make this project happen has been an adventure in itself. I began the project with an infant who took 3-hour naps. All the cooking and photography was done during those naps. Initially, this wasn't a problem, but then the naps became more erratic because of teething and things like that. I would not know for sure if she'd sleep an hour or 3, making the race to cook all the meals rather ridiculous. We went to extremes to avoid waking her, using loud machinery like blenders and food processors in the laundry room. It was pretty crazy. Oh yeah, it would be great, Joan. Anyway, Ava's now in middle school program 2 mornings a week, which gives me some more time to get the week's food organized. Technically speaking, we had to teach ourselves everything. This was another challenge. Anyone who has self-taught themselves a skill will know how difficult this is. Little by little, but not fast enough, I learned how to take good photos. The one on the upper left is from one of the first countries we cooked, and the one on the right is from just a few weeks ago when we did Kyrgyzstan. I had to teach myself how to take good photos, how to write engaging stories. My husband went from never having filmed or edited a video to now being the author of nearly 80 films, all self-taught. Sometimes I wish we could go back and rework the early countries, as we've learned so much in the 2 years since Global Table Adventure began. Some part of me, though, loves to look back and see how far we've come. Oh, okay, I'll look into that, Ruth. Thank you. Of course, there have been challenges on a global scale as well. Let's start with the most obvious. History has shown that countries have a tendency to come and go. Since Global Table Adventure began, we've already added South Sudan, and who knows, some others might be on the horizon as well. While there are logistical issues with this, the bottom line is I see this as a great opportunity to try more foods from around the world. That's the point of the adventure. At the end of the day, I see it as a bonus. Then there's the weekly issue of menu making. I always have a difficult time choosing what to make for the meals. I want to honor each country the best I can, which means I often create my menus with a passion only the obsessed can claim. To give you a quick snapshot, planning a menu involves furiously emailing anyone I know from the area before disappearing into a pile of cookbooks with several cups of tea. Eventually, I emerge bladder full and beaten down by tough decisions. It's usually an hour past bedtime. I go to bed and proceed to have food dreams until the morning. A few days later, I eat an incredible meal, and a week later, I do it again. These are kulfi pops from India that I made for, India happened to fall on my daughter's birthday, so for her birthday party, it was her second birthday, I made these kulfi pops. And they were great, big hit with the kids. They were cardamom flavored, and they have pistachio in there. I try to base my final menus on whether the menu is authentic, if the ingredients are available locally, which I think is really important, and whether or not I can make the dishes in my busy lifestyle. This is cardamom blueberry ice cream from Iceland, and that was really delicious, fun thing to make. We had it this summer. Many people think you cannot cook the world from a small city like Tulsa, Oklahoma. But what I find amazing is how many international markets are available. We have Hispanic, Middle Eastern, Indian, Asian, and even African markets. But I should say, something like this ice cream, you can get the blueberries and the cardamom in your own grocery store and still experience a flavor combination that you haven't had before. And a lot of the recipes are like that. Some have special ingredients that you need to make a special trip for, but others, you can just make them from what you find in your own grocery store. I've been happy to find any ingredients I need right here in town. If I cannot, I simply don't make the recipe. After all, I want people to be able to replicate this adventure in their hometowns. I want to make it simple for them to make and sample food from around the world. This is injera. That was a fun process making that. It's it's very simple. You just need to get teff flour, which you can find at the Whole Foods or whatever grocery store that's natural near you, and then it has to sit for a couple days. Lisa, which do you love, the ice cream or the injera? Oh yeah, the ice cream. Joan, the countries are scheduled out. I go A through Z, and if you go on the website, which I'll give you the link at the end, you can actually click Countries I've Cooked, and it brings you to a map that's interactive, and it has a list of all the countries below that, what's coming, what I've done, and so it makes it easy to get through. So how can you get involved? What does it mean for you? What's the big deal about eating a meal for every country in the world? It's only a big deal if the idea catches on. By eating food from other cultures and celebrating our common humanity, we find our common ground. The more people who are willing to explore other cultures with an open mind and willing taste buds, the quicker we'll be able to see each other as a great big family instead of divided by our differences. When we're hungry for peace, we can bring together vastly different cultures. But what does it mean for you? I think there are 5 ways to bring the benefits of global table adventure into your life. First of all, read with an open mind. You can go use the interactive map to learn about countries you've never heard about, and there are plenty for myself that it's almost embarrassing. I'm like, I just didn't even know, and there's a whole population of people there with their own cultures and traditions, and it's so fascinating to learn just a little bit about that. Use what you read to start an interesting conversation at your own dinner table. Be curious. Then try a recipe or 2. This is showing you the drop-downs on my website. There's quite a few of them. The recipes are organized by type: meat, chicken, fish, salad, soup, things like that. They're even categorized by lifestyle. If you cooked lifestyle, it would show you vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free. While there are some challenging recipes, most of them are simple enough for the average person to make rather quickly. And then there's, for those of you that want to try something extra special, there's recipes like that too. And as you see, I've highlighted here the celebrations, finger food, grilling, holidays, potluck friendly. With the holidays coming up, you're probably going to enjoy the most the potluck friendly and the finger food ones. Right now, the holidays are kind of all lumped together, and you have to look at the category tags to see which holiday it's in reference to. So under there, you'll see the Guinness cake for St. Patrick's Day, but then it'll also be next to glögg, which is mulled wine, for Christmas. Okay, the next you could do is host a potluck. And whether you're a teacher or an individual, you can bring together many people to have a feast of food from around the world. Definitely use our recipes as inspiration. They're all online. They're all free to use. As many people as we can get trying new things, the better, I think. Then number 4, you can enter our annual Gingerbread for Peace contest, and this is a great project if you have students, or like we have entries from Girl Scout troops. Entire schools have done a collaborative project. This is where we bring our mission of celebrating every country in the world to life with our readers. Even now you can go see entries which represent ideals of inclusion, curiosity, and global citizenship. Prizes include cash, donations to charities of choice, travel magazines, and more. And then if all that's too much work, and this is Mr. Picky very early on in his finest, if all that's too much work and it's out of your comfort zone, just do one thing: change your attitude. The next time you go out to eat, try a restaurant you've never tried before, or eat a dish you wouldn't normally think to try. You'll open your mind, you'll possibly get a new favorite dish, and you'll probably start a chain reaction with your community as you talk to your friends and family about what you went through. If you change your attitude, you could change the world. So at the end of the day, you just have to ask yourself, are you hungry for peace? And that's it. Thank you so much for your time, and I'd love to do a Q&A if anybody had any questions. Okay, Ruth, I'd love to hear your questions.
So I've given Ruth audio permissions. Ruth, you can take the microphone by clicking on the talk button at the top left of your screen. They may have been clapping for you. Oftentimes people think that's the clapping button.
Oh, okay.
But you can also put questions in the chat by writing a question in the chat. Ruth says, I can't. Students took my headphones. The dog ate my homework and the students took my headphones. There's a fun question. It looks like Ruth is asking if you'd be willing to video conference with a food class.
Okay, that would be really fun. I don't know. I've never done anything like that, so I'd have to be, you know, kind of coached through it. But I think it would be a great idea. And my email, if you go to my profile, you can see my email information, and you can reach out to me, and we can try to work on something like that.
Hi, Sasha. It's Lucy, the person who harassed you into coming to the conference, and I'm so thrilled to have you here. I missed the first part of your presentation, so forgive me. I'm going to go back and look at the archive. I've been putting out fires. But are there any plans for you to write a book, or is the blog going to be your primary repository for what you're doing? I think you would have a great market for a book and for a children's cookbook or something along those lines, too.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so glad you invited me, and I would love to put a book together. I haven't really figured out what angle to take. I have some ideas related to holidays around the world, but it's a question of timing, and I think right now balancing the needs of maintaining the website, which we post almost every single day, either a recipe or something about the country or a review of what we ate or a video. So it's really intensive. So I think time could be made for it. It's just a question of it happening, I guess.
Brand developing around this, you know, like a YouTube channel with, you know, and you already have a YouTube channel, I think, right? So, so I think this, I think it's, you know, maybe this will grow into something bigger, but I think it's phenomenal, and I think the implications for schools, and I think a lot of schools right now are contemplating healthy eating. That's one thing that we're seeing a lot. So this fits right into that. I think it's a way of getting kids to think about where their food's coming from and about the countries too, and if you're doing it on a not just a token basis. So I think that I hope people here are making the ties to what they could do in the classroom with this as well. So any other questions do we have here while I'm babbling?
Yeah, and I just want to, I totally agree with you, and I want to say to the people who have questions in the chat, they're coming by really fast, so if you could raise your hand, and if you have a mic to speak, that would be easier for me, because I don't want to miss anybody's question.
Yes, definitely raise your hand, and we'll call on you. We'll give you the mic.
Okay. I see Anna has a question. Do I need to do something?
Can she raise her hand so I can see her? Anna?
Oh, it was.
There.
Well, it went away.
Give her the mic. She's got the audio.
Okay. Okay. I'm not hearing Anna. Is there anybody else with a question? I did see something about. While we wait, go ahead and raise your hands. I saw something about world hunger throughout the world. Did you discover this in any of the countries that you traveled to? Well, in my personal travels, I did. I actually went to Tunisia, and that was a really eye-opening experience to see people living in basically partially built structures. And, you know, it breaks my heart. And while this is a very real part of the world, it kind of goes back to what I spoke about, that I'm trying to create a place that talks about all the positive stories. So while I'm not minimizing that, and I do think it's a very important thing for people to be aware of, I'm trying to create one place on the internet where it's all positive. And so I think that's something that's really hard to come by, actually. And when they wrote about the project on Whole Living, which is Martha Stewart's website, that was one of the things that really appealed to them, is that it's a totally positive message. And so that's something that if people are, you know, wanting to learn about those particular issues, they'll have to use other resources for poverty and war and those sort of things. Are there any more questions? I'm trying to scroll through and see if I can see anything. Ruth asked if I email ingredients. I actually don't, I'm not sure what you mean exactly, but I don't email. All my recipes are online, so if you need the list of ingredients, it'll be right there with the particular recipe that I'm talking about. The ingredients that are not local. I don't use ingredients that are not local. So I've actually been fortunate enough to find a whole lot more in Tulsa, Oklahoma than I thought I ever would. Like I said, we have an African market, and they have fermented locust beans and ground up what was it? Just cassava flour, all this different ingredients. And I do try recipes with those items, but generally I try to keep things a little bit more mainstream because I know it's rare to have an African market in your town. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I figure most people have Hispanic markets, most people have Asian markets, so I'm a little bit more lenient about trying things that are a little bit off the general supermarket shelves with those particular categories of countries, but yeah. Somebody asked if I have anything for, let's see, where is it? They asked about a country in particular. Oh, Mozambique. So that'll be coming probably next year or the year after. I have 2 more years left and going A through Z. I'm in the L's, 1 country per week, so it does take quite a while. I'm going to type in now while you guys, if anybody else has any questions, please feel free. I'm going to type in my website address so that you can go there after this if you're interested and check it out. Each day of the week is a different theme. I put that in there. So Tuesday is Travel Tuesday, and I give you tidbits about the food of the country. Wednesday, I announce the menu. Thursday is a recipe. Friday is often a recipe. There's usually 3 to 4 recipes per country, sometimes only 2, sometimes more. And then by Monday morning, all the recipes are up and the meal review and my husband's video of my daughter trying the food, which is really fun. Thank you, everybody.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
What's your following? I mean, do you know how many people have found you and are fans, or are you keeping any analytics on your blog? I'd be curious, is this really growing?
It's growing. I haven't. Let's see how many hits. I'm getting, something between 1,000 and 2,000 hits a day, which is respectable. It's not anything like, somebody like the Pioneer Woman's probably getting tens of thousands a day. I don't know, maybe more. So it's growing. It's still pretty small, but like on Facebook, I have, I think, almost 1,700 fans, and then on Twitter, I have, somewhere, climbing up 600 or so. So it's a lot of fun. Thanks, Veronica.
A lot of us here are nerds in that way, so we'll help you get the word out, and we'll tweet and blog and like you on Facebook and all that. Does everybody know where to get those links, by the way, out of curiosity? Let me see if I can post some of the links, and if anybody has any more questions, I'll get the link.
Okay. Do you want me to put the Facebook fan page and all that up?
If you have it handy, that's fine. Or if it's easier for me to go find it for you, I can do that. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, they'd love to have it in the chat. If you just kind of paste it in the chat, that would be great.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I'll just put it on this homepage here. It'll be clickable. So you're going to go to facebook.com/globaltableadventure, and then the Twitter is @globaltable, and that's it. So there's those three. And I love that people are excited about using this with their students. That's the whole idea. I want to make it easier for people around the world to try things. And thanks for those of you who follow the blog. I saw a couple people, like I said, it went by very fast, but I saw a couple of people say that they've been a long-time reader, and I really appreciate your time and your interest, and I hope if you've tried the recipes, you've enjoyed them.
I think where I found you, and I don't know, I know it was on Twitter. Somebody I was following had something to do with you. It might have been Jenny Bucos from Project Explorer,
probably.
Maybe?
Yeah,
And
I think so.
We wanted her to keynote, but she's been busy traveling and that sort of thing too. I'm pretty sure it's her that I found you.
Yeah, she's wonderful, and I'm actually friends with her on Facebook, and she has been all over the place, and her project's absolutely amazing. Maybe next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was in Costa Rica a couple weeks ago, and it was just like too much for her to. But I thought maybe she'd come to your session. I don't know if she's here or not. Jenny, are you here? Anyway, thank you so much. And this whole session will be recorded. If you want to stick around and ask some questions with Sasha, that's fine. I'll be here. And if not, we have another keynote starting at 11 o'clock. It's Cable Green from Creative Commons, who's going to be talking about alternatives to copyright and the global work that Creative Commons does. So we hope that you will move into that room if you want to. I'll find the link and post it in here. And then we have another keynote. We've got a lot of keynotes today. This is big keynote day. We've got a couple others following this afternoon. So thank you for coming, everybody. I'll stop talking in case you want to ask something more of Sasha, but we'll wrap it up now, okay?
Okay, and Lucy, I had a quick question. For those who want to hear the recording, when will that be live?
Good question. It takes, I think, like 15 to 30 minutes to process. I have to kick everybody out of the room for it to do whatever it does, whatever magic it does. And then the link is going to be available on globaleducationconference.com under quick links. And you'll be able to see, there'll be one link to the room and then one link to the recording. And if you look for Sasha's name, it'll be associated with that. One tip on that page is that there's a lot of text on that page, and so to have to look through everything is a pain. If you use Control-F or Command-F if you're on a Mac, you can search for Sasha's name and it'll pop right up. So hope you enjoyed this. Sasha, thank you so much for doing this. I love it. I can't wait to watch the whole thing. It should be ready within a half an hour once I kick everybody out of here. So I'm going to let everybody sit around for a minute, and then I will kick you out maybe in 10 minutes. Okay?
All right. Thanks, Lucy. Okay, if anybody wants to chat or raise their hand, I'm available, and otherwise have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening.
I just kicked everybody out. Sasha, you did an awesome job. Really appreciate it. Loved your slides. And let's keep in touch, okay?
Okay, yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. It was a little scary as a first-timer, but it really was no big deal once I did it. So
I think everybody realizes it. And I don't know if this.
What's that?
Sorry, I started talking and turned off the button. I think this is the way of the future in a lot of regards. I mean, you know, in schools right now, they're so strapped for professional development funds, and they're not going to be sending people to conferences and that sort of thing. So, you know, why not use something like this to do it? I think, you know, face-to-face is still important and the best mode of communicating, but, you know, this is better than nothing, you know? So I think that I think you'll see more of this, and it is intimidating at first, but once everybody gets in here, they realize it's not that bad. So I'm really glad you took the leap and did it, and you were fabulous.
Well, and there was more people than I thought. I thought with so many presenters, I thought, well, maybe I'll get 5 people, but there was, you know, 20 or 30 people or something, which was nice. Nice group. So, yeah.
I was actually hoping we get more. We have about 9,000 people in the community. So I thought we would get more, actually. And we had, in our opening keynote, we had about 250. I think on Monday. So, and that guy, he's big in the ed tech world, so people want to hear him because they know his name more than some of the other speakers. And I wanted to bring people in that weren't necessarily the usual suspects in education too. So we had you, and we had a guy named Robert Fogarty who does this Dear World photography project. It's awesome. You should look him up on Facebook.
Okay.
And you know, so I wanted to bring some like really creative, innovative people, and I think we did that. But I just thought I thought we would have more people because we have Steve and I have a huge network of contacts too that got all this information. And you know, I don't know, maybe it's because it's during the day, you know, in the U.S. I don't know what it is, but you know, I think this is a good showing considering that most of our sessions have been about 20 to 30, maybe up to 50. The regular, you know, in general.
Okay. Well, like I said, I felt good about it because, you know, I just didn't know what to expect. So, and you know, if I do something like this again next year, I might make the title more clear about, you know, Hungry for Peace is catchy, but it doesn't necessarily tell them that there's somebody eating a meal for every country in the world, you know. So that might be part of it too, is my titling.
Well, it was awesome. I'm going to, somebody just came in here. I'm going to kick them out.
Okay.
And then I'll close them in. If you leave and I leave, then it will start processing and it'll be done in about half an hour. Okay?
Okay, well, just X out, right?
Oh, I'm still talking, aren't I?
No, that's okay. All right, bye.